Hello, this is Christian Carroll here with
Sam Sullivan.
and we are the Pennant. We're going to be discussing the semi-state, East Chicago semi-state for the Penn Wrestling. So, let's talk about how East Chicago Central is such a good high school and the atmosphere there and how everything works at semi-state.
Yeah, so the way that the tournament runs is the people that qualified from each different regionals, the top 4 wrestlers from each regionals championship will face off, and the top 4 that come out of that bracket will go on to the state and will qualify for the state championship.
Okay, so first you got to win your first round match to advance to the ticket round match. The minute you win your ticket round match, you qualify for the state finals, which is down in Indy at the Pacers Stadium, which is next week. So the combining regionals in the semi-state is Crown Point, Penn's, and Logansport Regional. Those 3 will combine, and we'll see how everything turns out. Hopefully it goes in the Kingsmen's favor.
Yeah, really hoping so.
So the atmosphere there is pretty insane, especially ticket round. First round, it's pretty good, but once it's ticket round, you win your ticket round match, you qualify state. A lot of guys are jumping around, going crazy. And
yeah, exactly. Like, they're very, very hyped up matches. Everybody's looking to win those matches. I mean, everybody wants to qualify for state. That's what you're here for. That's how you know you're the best. And that's where the scholarships come in, and that's how you continue to wrestle at the next level at the college, if that's where the path that you want to take. And these are big matches that take you on to the next level.
And what makes ticket round so exciting is just, you can have huge upset. A guy took 4th at regionals, and, against regional champ, and the number 4 who took 4th at regionals ended up beating the number 1 who took 1st at regionals. Just a lot of upsets, and ticket rounds completely different. Everyone comes to wrestle, and there's a fire in that gut in everybody in the ticket round match.
Exactly. Like, this is a sport like no other. It's not like if your quarterback throws a bad pass, then you lose the game, or if the goalie misses the ball, then they score and you lose. This is one man versus one man, and whatever happens. It's up to them, and it's all about the heart. It doesn't matter about the rankings. It's the best wrestler will win, and whoever wants it the most. So
exactly,
these will be great matches.
High stakes for sure. All right, so let's move into our predictions. Starting at 113, the Kingsman has Ryan Purvis, who's in a fairly tough bracket, but he could definitely go out to the finals of the semi-state. First round, Stefan Vitalello from Valparaiso, which should be easy cruise match. Took 4th at his regionals at Crown Point. Yes. Ryan should steamroll through him. Moving on to the ticket round match, he'll probably end up having, the Lucas Clement from Maryville, if everything works out right. And another match he should steamroll right through into the semifinals of semi-state.
Exactly. It should be no problem for him to be qualifying for state. But as we were saying, anything can happen. Upsets happen a lot more than people think, and anything can happen. But personally, pulling for him, I think he's an amazing wrestler, and I think he should be able to get through it.
In the semi-state semifinals, he'll have Logan Frazier of Crown Point, who he lost to at the Al Smith 6-5. This kid's a freshman. He smells blood. He's a killer, but I feel as if Ryan Purvis has what it takes to win that match and get into the finals.
Exactly. That's a very high-level matchup. Both fairly young wrestlers. Ryan Purvis goes to Penn, sophomore, and Frazier, like you said, out of Crown Point, is only freshman. 31-2 record, but Ryan's right there with a 33-6 record, and that should be a phenomenal matchup. Both very high-skilled wrestlers.
And on the other side of this bracket, I'm probably going to pick Trevor Schammert to be in the finals of one of those 2 guys. Trevor Schammert also beat Ryan Purvis at the Lake Central tournament in the finals. It was an open match. It was close to a major. To be honest, everyone's dialing in. That was basically preseason, so I think Ryan Purvis is going to be dialed in for this tournament, ready to go. He seems pretty fired up for this weekend, so we'll see how everything turns out at 113.
Yeah, it should be, like you said, Trevor, but I have 2 guys that I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and win. Drake Montalago out of Tippecanoe Valley. We saw him wrestle last weekend. He's phenomenal. And also Doug Waters from Chesterton. He is a senior. That makes a big difference. So I think that he'll put up a great fight in that upper bracket. And Alex Kellogg out of Harrison.
For sure. So prediction 113. I'm going to go with, if he upsets Logan Frazier, I say he could win it potentially. He could potentially win it, or I say 1st or 3rd.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Ryan Purvis should be right there. If like you said, if not, first place. If he does upset Logan Frazier, I think he could beat anybody from the upper bracket.
Exactly.
But if he does lose to Logan Frazier, I think he'll be fine with the third place.
Fun fact, Logan Frazier tech fault Shammer at the Hobart Crown Point duel. So, like to your point, if Purvis beats Frazier, it's his to win.
Exactly. He should be able to wipe out the rest of that bracket, no problem.
Next weight the Kingsman has at semi-state, who's a qualifier, is Brady McMillan. He's going to have a tough time first match. He's taking on Malik Hall, who took 5th last year at the state finals.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to end up. I'm always pulling for Braden. He's a friend of mine, and obviously he goes to Penn with us. But that's going to be a tough matchup. Malik Hall does have a year of experience on him. He is a junior, and Braden's only a sophomore. And 23-3 record out of Maryville, that's not like it's some easy conference. That's going to be a tough matchup.
If he does beat him, which would be incredible win, he can cruise to the he could win his tick-around match. The next best kid he's going to have from Harrison, West Lafayette, which all those Harrison guys, have pretty good record. Their schedule is a little bit weaker than I'd say the Kingsmen. So if he gets past the first match, he definitely could go to ticket round. Then he'd have to face a tough Giovanni Diaz.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Second
out of this
in the
bracket.
state.
Yeah, definitely thinking he's going to pull out and win this.
This whole bracket's tough. I mean, he has Malik Hall as a state placer. He has Giovanni Diaz as a state placer. He has Dylan Tom, who beat him at the regionals and the semifinals. He has Brody Fogarty, who's a regional champ. He has Riley Bettich, who's a state placer, 2-time state champ from Michigan. Then you have Ty Haskins.
Yeah,
that's a stacked bracket. And
very,
Cole Salami.
very, very stacked up 120 bracket. Anything could happen here. Like we were talking about upsets. I mean, like you said, any of those 6, 7, 8 guys, any of those guys could win it. It's not like we have one clear favorite, but it should be a good bracket.
It should be for sure. Overall, I mean, if he wrestles a perfect match, then he could win that take-around match. But that first match is going to be tough. Next up for the Kingsmen, we're going to be jumping up to 132, which is going to be Vince Sparrow. And Vince is looking pretty good at regionals. I mean, he's looking like a stud.
Exactly.
So, looking at the top part of the bracket where he's at, he will have probably his best match will be the Ethan Contreras from Chesterton, who will have tick around. And I see him beating Isaiah Ponce in the semi-finals of semi-state and taking on good old Jesse Mendez, Crown Point in the finals.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up. I mean, those of you that maybe don't know a whole lot about wrestling or how the rankings are this year, Jesse Mendez is the best of the best, and only a sophomore is just a phenomenal wrestler.
He
you
was
can talk about him all day.
2019 World Team member, represented Team USA last year at the Cadet World Championships.
He's a top dog.
He's a killer, man.
He knows what he's doing. But other than that, Vince Sparrow should be able to cruise through the top of that bracket. Brady Nuez from West Central could be a challenge, but outside of that, it should be his to win.
Exactly. I think the next best kid for him could be that Isaiah Ponce from Lake Central. I know his brother Christian Ponce, who's a pretty tough kid at 152. But, yeah, I think he should win the semis and face Jesse Mendez. So my prediction for Vince is going to be second place.
Yep, same for me. I think Mendez. I love Vince, great wrestler and a great friend, but I don't know. Jesse Mendez, it's hard to bet against that kid.
For sure. Moving on to the next weight we have is 145 is Grant Mallory. So this kid is a freshman, tough kid. He has a very tough AJ Poindexter, who has 38-0 undefeated senior committed to the University of George Mason. This kid was a state qualifier last year. But to be honest, Grant is that kid who's very, I want to say, not unorthodox, but very unpredictable in the style he wrestles.
Exactly. Grant is just ridiculously strong. Like the way I used to like to say it, and it's a personal joke between him and I, we're both good friends, is he has the horse strength. He just can pull it out of anything, and he can just move people around and make things work that you don't expect, and he's very flexible. So that's also a big benefit. He can get out a lot of moves and make anything happen out of any position. But
and to my point earlier, that kid's AJ Poindexter is also from Harrison, who their schedule isn't really that tough. So
exactly.
He's going to go in wrestling. I don't think anybody has gotten out of the second or first period with AJ Poindexter this year. So him not facing tough competition, and he's going to run to a tough cookie first match. I'd like to see how his mental response is.
Exactly.
Facing not going through all 3 periods, someone that's not going to give up a ball, who's going to be a tough kid coming into. That could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, anything could happen there. Grant is just, like I always like to say, unpinnable. Just very, very, very strong. And not only is he strong, I keep explaining his strength, but he has technique. He knows what he's doing, and he's been wrestling for a long time.
I want to say how tough this bracket is. I mean, this is a pretty good bracket. You got Tyler Herring from Portage, state qualifier. You have Grant, AJ Poindexter, D1 commit, state qualifier. Then you have tough Orlando Cruz from CP, Crown Point, who's very tough. Yeah, Brock Ellis, who fourth placer last year. Then you have Jacob Maldonado, Jacob Maldonado's dad was a state champ for Maryville back in the day. So this is a really tough bracket. So if Grant can pull off his first match, I could see him winning ticket round and going into a tough Orlando Cruz. But Grant's going to have to have his A game first match, be ready to go, which that's one thing I can count on Grant. He always has the same mindset going into a match. First, second, he's ready to go. So if he does get through that match, I could see him losing ticket round. I also can see him taking fourth, but he has to get through that first match, which sadly I'm not going to pick him over Poindexter, so I'm going to say he's going to lose first round of semi-state.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that, but outside of that matchup, this is a phenomenal bracket, like he was saying. We have 3 different undefeated wrestlers. I don't think I have ever really seen that out of a semi-state.
Exactly, especially when all those guys are kind of all bunched up, but they just all happen to come through different regionals, so we'll see.
Yeah, they're all top dogs. Haven't lost a match since whenever we started the season, like December, November. I'm excited to see what happens at 145.
For sure. Our next weight class, we have 160, AJ Steinbeck for the Kingsmen, which AJ is if you don't know his style, very unorthodox wrestler. Took second at his regional, losing to Jacob Blinkley, who's also tough, well-built kid. So going into his semi-state drawing, it looks pretty good to me, to be honest. He has Ryan Breedlove, who's a tough kid, won the Harvest Classic from Hanover Central, 33-4, who's a senior. I say AJ, unorthodox in technique and strength, has superiority over Ryan Breedlove in the first round. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, AJ is one of my own friends, and I've been wrestling with him since the 7th grade, when he's always been my own partner for practice and stuff. And I don't think I'll ever come to a match that I would bet against AJ Steinbeck ever.
Exactly. He just has that unorthodox and predictable style. He'll throw you, he'll chin whip you. Some moves that won't work for the majority, he somehow makes them work for him. So
exactly, he can just make anything happen out of any movement, and like you said, he likes to throw, and he likes to make unorthodox movements when he throws, and that just look uncomfortable, or they don't look they're good technique. But if the guy gets on his back, you're winning the match. So
exactly,
whatever happens.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick Hidden Homke to meet him up in the ticket round match. I don't think Homke has enough for AJ, to be honest. Homke is a solid kid from Hobart, 27-7. He's a senior. I personally know Homke my whole life growing up. I wrestled him through the years. He's been kind of one of those kids, been steady Eddie, but I think AJ Steinbeck's a little bit more committed than him, and he's a freshman, and he's going to take out the senior in the ticket round match.
Yeah.
And I have him also going into the finals, taking out Nick Winland of Chesterton, who's also, I believe, a senior.
Yeah, Nick Winland is a senior, and I'm gonna go with that prediction as well. I think AJ should walk right through this tournament in this bracket, and probably in the final matchup. I don't know about you, Christian. I think probably Noah Holodoner from Crown Point, 33-4.
For sure.
I think that's got to be the pick for AJ.
I would say he's gonna beat that Jacob Blinkley from Warsaw, who AJ ended up losing to in the regional finals, but it looks like AJ's probably going to get a better draw and take second over that Jacob Blinkley who beat him last week. And he's going to have a very, very tough Noah Hollandoner. But also you got to give Nick Winland some slack. I'm going to give him a little bit of love just because he had a 1-point match with Isaiah Levitz, who's number 2 in the state at the Al Smith semifinals. But other than that, I still do think AJ Steinbeck's going to pull it out, and he's going to go into the finals against Noah Hollandinger and take second. That's my prediction for AJ. He's going to take second. In fairness, the last time those two met, AJ did get an injury and it was a 2-point match, so we'll see how that fares up. It'd be a good rematch.
Anything's possible, and like we've already discussed today, it's wrestling. It's one-on-one. It's not anybody else's fault if you mess up, and AJ's hard to bet against. He's very, very strong, extremely flexible, great technique, and I think he could beat anybody in this bracket, but Noah Hollandiner, the 33-4 senior, like I always like to say, the seniors have just the man strength, the 18-year-old strength that
and I don't
us
know
15 and 16-year-olds don't have.
If you have never seen Noah Hollandiner, he is athletically built, athletically gifted, squats 500 pounds. I mean, this kid's is an actual athletic beast, but what gives AJ that edge and puts him in the match, even if Noah Hollandiner was, number one in state. Say if he was, dominant all year. AJ just has that unorthodox style that can just catch anybody in any position, and his grappling over the years and flowing into weird, awkward positions that normally other guys aren't put into kind of gives him the edge that keeps him in the match against anyone in any match.
Exactly, and AJ is very good at scrambling as well. That's one thing I would definitely like to talk about when it comes to AJ Steenbeck is he can scramble out of any position. Say someone gets that nice single leg on him, he can get to a body lock, he can get to an ankle, he can spin around. He's so flexible. He can get in any position. He can get to a stalemate if he doesn't like where he is.
Exactly.
And he can do it all. He can do anything.
That's why his nickname's Gumby. He is flexible, and just like you said, he gets in those positions. He just knows how to scramble out of very well, unlike most people. So my prediction for AJ is winning his first match over that Ryan Breelove, going to beat Nick Winland in the semifinals, then go ahead and face Noah Hollandiner of Crown Point in the finals. I'm going to say Noah Hollandiner over him, though. I'm going to say AJ takes second.
Yep, I'm going to have to agree with that. AJ should wipe out the top half of the bracket and just completely sweep through and dominate if he wrestles as well as he can. And I think Noah Hollandiner will take him out in the finals, though. Second place is nothing to be ashamed of, though.
Especially moving on to the state finals, you guys also have to remember they have to win 2 straight. They take top 4 to state, and it's a blind draw, so you don't know which semi-state you're getting. But one goes against 4 Friday night and 2 against 3 Friday night. So wrestle a tough Friday night match, and he could be a state placer. He's going to get a number 3 if he takes second. So.
Exactly. Placement means everything.
So, moving on to 195, we have our very own Ben Call.
Yeah, Ben is a extremely, extremely strong wrestler. Like, I can't put it into words how strong this guy is.
He doesn't look like he's that strong, but he lifts quite a bit of weight, and he grabs a grip onto you. He has a grip like no other.
Exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It feels like he's like a snake's biting you when he grabs your wrist. He has ridiculous grip strength. Very, very great rider on top. Known for his double legs. When he gets both those boots in, as I like to say, lights out. He's getting his points.
For sure. And I've been talking to his dad, and they've been saying they've been working a lot of Greco wrestling, so a lot of throws. If he needs it, if he's down in the ticket round or down first match, he can pull a throw out and, win the match. He's a very good thrower.
Yeah, I've seen him in practice many times throw anybody of any size. He can do it. He knows how to use his hips when he throws. That's the key movement right there. And he can feel the weight really well. As we said, he's a senior, an older guy. He's been around longer than I have, and he knows what he's doing, and he can do a great job from any position. I'm excited to see him.
29-12 on the season. He's going to take on a tough Mark Mummy of Hobart, who's 28-5, also senior. But these two, I'm not sure exactly if they ever met. I don't believe so. I'm going to give Ben Call the upper edge on this first match because he's been wrestling dominant. If he gets on top, he can almost turn anybody.
Exactly. I'm going to have to agree with that, too, just with that ridiculous grip strength and amazing riding ability with his legs. He loves to get to his power half. If he can last and get to the second period, but if he doesn't get his choice to the third period, can get on top, and it's still within a 3-4 point match, I think he can get that turn and get his points.
Exactly.
And go ahead and take it out.
Exactly. He's going to be, if he beats Mark Mummy, next match he's going to have ticket round Gage DeMarco of Chesterton. So Gage DeMarco, who's 36-7, sophomore from Chesterton, is a very tough kid. Through past years, always placed at middle school state. He's been very tough, younger coming up. So it's going to be a very, very good match, ticket round match. I'm still going to pull Ben Call over him just because Ben is just one of those another kids who are just, can throw you, can turn you. I mean, he's very unpredictable as well. I'm going to pick him winning ticket round match. I'm going to have him losing to Eli Pack in the semifinals from Culver Academies. That kid's 30-1. Junior, he's very tough. Took second at his regionals, losing to Jacob Laplace, the Mishawaka Caveman, who's undefeated. So I'm gonna have Ben Call taking third semi-state.
Yeah,
third
I'll have
fourth.
to agree with that. And the other thing about Ben is he's just so intense, and he loves the sport of wrestling. He's a great relationship with our head coach, Brad Harper. A great relationship with him. They always talk after practice and work extra hard on his throws, his turns. And the other thing that I think is underrated about Ben is his amazing shot defense. When someone goes to get that set single leg, that double leg, or the high C, whatever it is, he is so good at catching them and bringing them up and getting them into a position where he can throw them feet to back and get his points and get the takedown as well, and even for stick him if possible. And he's so good from that position. His defense is phenomenal as well.
To your point, I do think another aspect that puts Ben Call that makes him have the edge is just his mentality. His mindset is crazy ridiculous. He fears no man. He goes out there and he's ready to kill. He's ready to go on that mat, and he's ready to dominate.
Exactly, and he does a great job from any standpoint. But Eli Pack out of Culver Academy, I've seen him wrestle a couple times this year at their own Culver tournament and at sectionals last weekend.
Right? He pinned Ben at regionals last year in the semis. So
yeah, he's an animal. I'm going to have to pick Eli going on to the finals instead of Ben, but I think Ben should end up with the third place.
I have Ben Cole representing the Kingsmen at state, being a state qualifier this year, so let's hopefully he meets expectations. So moving on to 220. This is very interesting. I see this weight class just in a lot of different ways, mentally, seeing how stuff works out. This bracket could just our guy Peyton Kendall could really be the heartbreaker in this bracket, to be honest. I feel like he's very underrated. I know he took third at regionals, but he's just one of those kids that can catch you on a bad day and end up getting on top of you and pinning you. You know, he's a lot of weight. He's stockier built kid. So moving in, first match, he has Eddie Alonso from Lake Central, who's 24-13, senior on the year. Peyton has already met this kid. I know this is his first round match, but this was preseason when they met. I don't feel as if Peyton Kendall was at his peak yet in his wrestling career. So his style, everything's changed to another level than what he was then. And that was already a close match then. So I have Peyton Kendall beating Eddie Alonso, first match from Lake Central, 24-13. He's a senior. And then he's going to take on very tough 6'7", 220 from Harrison, William Kreider, who's 29-3, who's a senior. Took fourth last year at heavyweight, dropping down a weight class. Met actually Hezi DeVault in the semifinals at semi-state last year, which is Penn's 285, our heavyweight, who very tough. Pinned him in a cradle last year in the semi-state finals. So he's dropping down a weight. He's looking pretty good. There's definitely a size gap in that match.
Exactly.
Take it around.
Peyton Kendall, like you said, shorter, stockier build, like probably about 5'6", 5'7", I'd say.
I'd say 5'7".
5'7", yeah. And William Kreider, like you said, 6'7". So that is a foot of difference. That it makes so much of a difference in a wrestling match.
That's leverage. I mean, that's a lot of...
Exactly. He can get to those single legs a lot easier. He has longer arms, longer legs. He can cradle. I don't know how this is going to end up. I'm looking forward to it because it's an interesting matchup. Not only is Peyton Kendall a friend, but even if I had no idea who he was, it'd just be an interesting matchup just based off the size difference and the way that they're built and how good Peyton is, and he can get out of any situation. And very good rider on top, explosive on bottom. I rarely see anybody hold him down when he's on bottom. But this 6'7"
this matchup, I feel like, is just one of those that it's hit or miss, you know. So I'm going to have him actually dropping that match against William Kreider and take around. He's still a tough freshman, made it to semi-state. But Peyton Kendall has that experience over the years, you know, traveling young in middle school and elementary. So we'll see how those two match up. So if he does beat William Kreider, more than likely looking at the upper half of the top bracket, I'm going to say he's going to have Jason Streck of Maryville, who's 35-2. Tough kid if he moves on to the semifinals. The good thing about knowing this match is Peyton Kendall had a double overtime match with the Cathedral kid, right? And this Cathedral kid is 7th in the state, was beating Jason Streck the whole time in the Al Smith finals. Then Jason Streck got a last takedown to secure that win over the Cathedral kid. So I think Peyton Kendall's in it all the way if he goes to semis. But I could also see him dropping a first match. I could see him dropping the second match. So if he puts his A game on and he's ready to go, I could see him easily, getting the semifinals.
Exactly. And the way Peyton wrestles is a lot of it really just depends on how he's wrestling that day. If he's not having a good day, if he didn't eat the right things for breakfast, if he didn't get enough sleep or whatever the situation is, he just isn't the same wrestler. But I think if he brings 100% A+, the best wrestling ability he can bring, which is the top of the top, I think he could take out Eddie Alonso and maybe even take out William Kreider in that ticket round matchup. But I'm going to have to pick him to lose to William Kreider. I think William Kreider will take him out. But like I said,
if he's in the zone and he puts everything together and it's all perfect, he could easily, this is also a stacked bracket with Jason Streck. You got Peyton Kendall, Eddie Alonso, Evan Bates. I mean, Evan Bates is ranked 9th in the country, who is a Fargo placer, Super 32 placer. So looking at this bracket, this is a stacked bracket. So going on, he could potentially be that guy, who takes third place, state qualifier, or lose first round, ticket round. So my prediction is all over the place for this guy. So what do you think, Sam?
Similar to what you're saying, like we said, this is a stacked bracket. 4 or 5 different guys that could end up coming out and winning it and being the first place guy going on to the state finals. I'm going to have to pick Peyton Kendall to lose to William Kreider and have William Kreider going on to taking out Jason Streck in the semifinals. Still
awesome career as a freshman. Small, going up at a big weight at 220 as a freshman, that is amazing. You're looking out through that bracket, all you see are seniors. So for a 220 freshman to get to the semi-state, I think that's amazing. He's the only freshman in that bracket at 220.
Exactly, and there's only 2 sophomores. And like you're saying, with the heavier weight classes, a lot of these are the older, bigger guys. And like I was saying earlier,
matured more and have the muscular strength.
And the more experience, what it really comes down to, and they have more experience at the high school level, more technique, better coaching. But like you said, as a freshman, even qualifying for semi-state is amazing. Even being a varsity wrestler is amazing with the winning record as well, 24-17.
Especially at a heavy weight like that is. And he's an athletic 220. For his size. He is an athletic 220. So, like I said, he could be an unpredictable guy. He could win his first match, second match, third match, or he could potentially drop a match at any of those points. But if he brings his A game, I say he's ready to go, and he could potentially sneak his way into the finals, take third, qualify for state, or, he could drop that tick round match. We'll have to see. So, moving on to 285, we have Hezcal DeVault of Penn, who's 36-2, ranked 4th in the state currently, who's a senior. Looking at the upper bracket, I don't see any competition. He has a Knox kid, Cody Winkler, who's a sophomore, 16-11 first match. Should steamroll through him. Then his tick-around match, he's going to have the Seth Chrisman of Harrison, who's 17-7, who's also a senior. Harrison, like we said, has a little bit weaker schedule than most. A lot of those guys come out with great records. I don't think he's going to coming out, having easy competition, wrestling through a full match with a tough opponent. We'll have to see how that mindset is, Seth Chrisman, because, you're wrestling these guys and you're dominating, then you finally have a tough match and you're like, oh no, I have to go all 3 periods, I'm losing, I'm down. Keeping that mindset, it's definitely changed his perspective on everything, especially wrestling out there. So I have him winning tick around, I have him winning semi-finals. The next best kid I see is Damari Dancy of Portage, who's 30-2, who's also senior. They both have met early at Lake Central in the finals. It was an 8-1 match. Damari Dancy was ahead of Hezcal DeVault, and Hezcal ended up getting the pin late in the third, but this is going to be a tough matchup. I'd like to see the coaches' picks, going into that match. Like, they realize Hezzy's top game is amazing. It's probably one of the best in the state. He always gets a pin. His pinning percentage on top is probably like 80%. I'd have to say it's above 50%. He's very tough, so it'd be interesting to see if they don't choose bottom, because on their feet, Damari Dancy is a tough cookie, man. He's very, very tough on his feet. Fluid heavyweight. He's a little bit more athletic heavyweight, a little bit lighter, can move, has that speed. So it's gonna be another great matchup at 285 in the finals. I have Hezcal still pulling off the win and being a semi-state champ.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. And like you're saying about the top team of Hezzy, it's just phenomenal. He's 36-2 this season with 29 pins. I'm not amazing at math, but like you said, that's probably about an 80% percentage of pins. I think he should absolutely dominate against Cody Winkler and probably Seth Chrisman, maybe Andres Larlos out of Hammond Clark. But those should both be kids that Hezzy should dominate. Coming out of the lower half of the top bracket is Hunter Whitenack is going to be my pick from New Prairie. 42-3. He's a sophomore. This kid is huge.
That is a pretty good pick.
Absolutely huge, and he is amazing at football as well. When I saw him play football this year, he's a multi-sport athlete, and during the football season, he carries 320 pounds.
Is he 6'4"?
6'6", I believe.
6'6"?
6'6" or 6'5". He's a very just tall guy, and Hezzy's not small. He's 6'4", probably 6'5", but Hunter Whitenack is just a very big guy. He knows how to get people around. He is an offensive lineman and will probably end up playing D1 football.
He's a sophomore with a 42-3 record. Hezcal DeVault has a 36-2 record. I want to say Hezcal DeVault's losses are more quality losses as far as the type of people they wrestle, and the New Prairie schedule is a little bit weaker than the Penn Kingsman. So his only 2 losses is number 1 in the state from Brownsburg. Was a 1-0 loss. Then he lost to a Carroll kid, which was a 7-5 loss. But going into that match, it was kind of like a freaky match, one of those things where he caught and slipped. And then the Carroll kid had him on his back the whole match. So we'll have to see. I say Hezcal DeVault could easily be a state champ this year.
Oh, definitely. And going back to that Carroll matchup, I was there on the sidelines watching that match, and Hezzy actually had a finger that was really, really badly jammed, and he couldn't even use his whole hand because it was jammed so bad. His middle finger and his ring finger on his right hand were both jammed super badly.
He definitely fought tough that match.
Exactly.
I see, like I said, Hezcal DeVault could easily be a state champ, but he has to get through Damari Danzy of Portage in the finals of semi-state.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and predict that as well. I think Hezzy should sweep this bracket and go ahead and win the semi-state, but it won't be easy with Damari Dancy and Hunter Whitenack, but he has beaten Hunter Whitenack early in the season at the Al Smith tournament, and I think he'll go ahead and sweep this and go ahead and take it out.
So let's move on to team race predictions for Penn. I'd say we're going to pull 3 guys out to state. It's probably the most realistic amount of guys we'll pull out into state. It's probably 3 guys. Vince Sparrow, who's tough, Ryan Purvis, and I'm going to pick our heavyweight, Hezcal DeVault. I could say them pretty comfortably. So I see the Kingsmen around 4th or 3rd place. You got some of those top schools in the north. You have Crown Point. I'm going to predict them to be semi-team champs, and I'm probably going to have Mishawaka 2nd, and probably another school, maybe a Maryville. The Kingsmen could easily fulfill that spot at 3rd, but I see them around 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with that. Like you said, Ryan Purvis, my for sure picks, I think, for the go-aheading qualifying for the state championship. Hezzy DeVault, I think, should most definitely go ahead and qualify. Vince Sparrow and Ryan Purvis, same as he said. AJ Steenbeck is right there. I think he will, but I don't think he'll win it. Ben Call could go ahead and qualify. Braden could. Grant has a very tough bracket. Not sure about that, but
realistically, I just see three guys. 4 potentially AJ, of course. He still has a tough bracket, but I could definitely see him in the finals.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. 3 or 4 guys.
I'll bump mine up to 4 comfortably, but other than that, I just see the Kingsmen bringing 4 to state, which is still quite a bit of guys. I mean,
yeah, if you think about that,
that's 4 guys to state is pretty good run. So we'll see how those guys play out next week and how everything works out. So
yeah, looking forward to it. Tomorrow morning we should be there, and it's gonna be great wrestling and a lot of great matches. Looking forward to some upsets. Hopefully those are always fun to watch. A lot of high intensity. The rooms, it's intense. You can feel the action and the intensity. I'm really looking forward to it.
Looking forward to Ticket Round that day too, where everybody has that fire in their gut and they're ready to go. That's everybody. Could have a lot of jitters. This is basically some seniors. This is their last match. Like it potentially it's their last match.
Exactly.
This is all that they put in, especially if they haven't qualified for state. Their motors, their drive, they're gonna be so driven for this Ticket Round match. If they get to the Ticket Round, so it's gonna be interesting to see how stuff plays out, and it's just a different atmosphere. A lot of fans are crazy. Got a lot of kids celebrating. They finally are a state qualifier, or they are a state qualifier as a freshman. It's very awesome atmosphere. I love it there. East Chicago Central, I want to say, is one of the better semi-states. In 2017, East Chicago semi-state had every guy who came out of the East Chicago semi-state, every weight, they had a guy in the finals. So which is very dominant for a semi-state.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
the next best semi-state is probably Evansville Ritz. Other than that, Fort Wayne's a little bit weaker. Castle, it's hit or miss there. They have Cathedral there though, which makes it a tougher semi-state.
Yeah,
but,
Cathedral's dominant out of there usually.
If you come out of the East Chicago Central semi-state, you're a very tough kid. That's a very tough semi-state. So we'll have to see how everything plays out. This has been exciting. So Christian signing off.
And Sam Sullivan.